through the lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep fitting in love.
Yes, people, we are back in the building. You know what time it is. You know what it is, guys. Please make sure you smash that like button. And if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Some more videos, hot takes, all of that good stuff. All of that good stuff. Now, today, as obviously you guys can see on the screen right now, and you can obviously see via the caption of the video, we're here to talk about Gakpo and Nunez. Now, I know obviously I put Gakpo versus Nunez, but you know, it kind of is, to be honest with you. You know, recently we've seen Darwin Núñez, he's been dropped to the bench for Liverpool, and Cody Gakpo has been playing a lot more games in recent weeks in that number 9 position. When Nunez does come on, I mean, he has come on the left, he has come on through the middle for Cody Gakpo. In some games, we saw the goal against Leeds for Darwin Núñez, you know, playing, you know, through that middle. But mostly he's been playing on that left-hand side. And this season, to be honest with you, he's been playing mostly on that left-hand side. Now, obviously been a lot of talk, to be honest with you, between Darwin Núñez and obviously Cody Gakpo since he joined in January. Now, Darwin Núñez played for Benfica previously, played up front through the middle. Obviously likes to drift out to the left, but his starting position would always be through the middle. And then obviously throughout the game, obviously might drift out kind of thing, just to kind of get some space for himself to be able to run into the box. And Cody Gakpo, you know, mostly started on that left-hand side for PSV, and then came into the middle. So it's kind of like roles reversed, to be honest with you. And I think quite a lot of people I've spoken to, quite a lot of people that we see online and things like that, which is funny because obviously we've just heard, you know, Jurgen Klopp talk about social media and picking teams and things like that. But, you know, quite a lot of people, you know, even in regards to that, you know, Jurgen Klopp mentioning about, you know, he's happy that social media doesn't pick the team and, you know, all of these kind of various different things. I mean, if we were sitting inside the top 4, potentially going for a title, I don't think you'd have social media asking you to pick the right team and, you know, stuff like that. But unfortunately, we're not. So clearly the team that you keep picking, style of play and all of that kind of stuff, clearly you're not doing a good job of it. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. I don't want to get into that as of yet. But yes, in regards to Darwin Núñez and Cody Gakpo, as I said, it's like they both come to Liverpool. They have played games together, but mostly Darwin Núñez has been on the left and Cody's been through the middle, even though for their previous clubs they were doing roles reverse, as I said. So yeah, I think it's been a little bit weird, and I know a lot of people are not really too happy with that. But you know, let's kind of like dive in and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, quite a lot of people are not really happy with it because they kind of see it as they feel Darwin Núñez is better through the middle. That's where he played again for Benfica. You know, we signed Darwin Núñez 65 million. You know, myself anyway. I'll only speak for myself, but I know a few others thought the same thing. You know, we thought when we were signing this player, you know, you were signing a striker, essentially. You wasn't signing a left winger. So, you know, we thought we was getting a guy who's going to come in, you know, and basically do the biz. That hasn't really been the case for Núñez this season. People are going to tell you a lot of excuses as to why. Klopp has given you a lot of excuses as to why that probably is. And the thing is, when Klopp's giving you the excuses, that kind of gives you the indication that season hasn't really gone to plan, you know, how he wanted it to for Darwin Núñez. And obviously Darwin Núñez has spoken about it as well. I've seen a lot of comparisons between Darwin Núñez and Luis Suarez, Sadio Mane, you know, some great players. You know, for one, I think we need to stop with these kind of comparisons. Everything is relative. Everything is always context to every situation. But just in general, even forget even the stats and the numbers. You know, I think he's not that far off of what Luis Suarez got in his first season, which is all I keep seeing. He's not far off Luis Suarez and blah, blah, blah. I think we need to start understanding, when Suarez came to this team, not only was he one of the most prolific strikers out there anyway from his time at Ajax, but you could clearly see that this was a talented player. Clearly, it was so evident from the moment he stepped in at Liverpool. With Darwin Núñez, it's not so evident. I think that part is very, very obvious. So the comparisons I don't really understand. A lot of people keep saying, give him time and stuff like that, which is fair. And I do agree. You should. At the end of the day, you're going to need to give people time. Unfortunately, we're supposed to be a club who are challenging. If we're not challenging, you're going to get criticized, regardless of how long. Even if you've been here for 2 seconds, you're going to get criticized. And I think that's right, to be honest with you. I think, we expect the best. Well, we should be expecting the best, to be honest. And if we're not getting it, unfortunately, the buck's got to stop with someone. Darwin Núñez goal return this season, I think he's got 15 goals this season in all competitions, which is okay. For 65 million, it's not okay, but for just a normal player, like if Diaz had got those kind of, like, obviously if he hadn't been injured, if he had got those kind of numbers, we would say, oh, that's brilliant. For someone like Luis Diaz, who isn't the main, one of the main goal scorers in the team, he's just a part of a front line. But for my striker, yeah, not really, to be honest with you. That's not something to shout about. It's not really something to celebrate, regardless of whether it's his first season or not. As I said, supposed to be expecting the best. And if you're not getting the best, then something isn't right, to be honest with you. Again, everything could change next season. All of a sudden, Darwin Núñez could smack 30 goals in the season, and then we'll all keep quiet, and we hope that that's exactly what's going to happen. But I think the pressure, because of the people who want Darwin Núñez to succeed, I think there's going to be so much pressure. If he doesn't get these 30 whatever goal, or whatever it is, if he just doesn't, do what he's supposed to be doing next season, then what happens? Are we going to create more excuses? Are we going to create more stats? Fastest player, minutes per goal, how many minutes he's played, all of these kind of various different things that we seem to have created for Darwin Núñez. And then the word chaos then just gets thrown into it. I've never seen, so much for one player, to make someone look really, really good when the evidence shows you otherwise. But again, like I say, things could change next season. He's had a season now, or, we're coming to the end of the season, but he would have had a season now. There will be no excuses. So if anything, like I said, that pressure for next season is going to be so high for him. Whether he's going to be able to handle it or not, who knows? But that pressure for him is going to be, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of expectancy, placed upon him. In regards to Cody Gakpo, obviously only joined in January. He was probably a little bit different. He obviously, again, speaking to people, I don't know many people who thought, Gakpo was going to come in and just be this goal scorer and stuff like that. I think when we signed Gakpo, and I see a lot of people talking about it, saying, oh, we should apologize to, Cody Gakpo and apologize to Pep Yinders for, talking about Gakpo because look at him now and stuff like that. Again, I find that one funny because ultimately, when he joined the team, regardless of how we were doing and, all that dysfunctional talk, again, excuses, regardless of all of that, for me, when I was looking at Cody Gakpo, he just didn't fit. I just didn't understand where he was going to fit. And again, the evidence is there. Look at his first few games. Where was Klopp playing him? How was Klopp playing him? What was he doing? How was he contributing to the team? All of these kind of like little things. Klopp showing you these things, but it's just like we all try to act oblivious to the blatant signs that are placed upon us by our own manager, because we want to create this facade. We want to create this kind of, the shield around our players, which is fair enough. At the end of the day, it's your players, it's your team. So of course, you're going to want to protect them, so to speak. But sometimes just be real with yourself, be real with the situation at hand, and I felt that when Cody Gakpo kind of got in here, I just didn't know where he was going to fit. I just felt like, where does he kind of go? Rotation wise, I look at someone like Cody Gakpo and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. If you're talking about rotation wise, yeah, maybe he can fit in, maybe on the left, maybe he can fit in through the middle kind of thing, behind the striker potentially. then yeah, not a problem. But in terms of being like one of the main guys, I still didn't really understand that. Now the last few games, again, Liverpool have won the last 3 games, I believe. Um, you know, with him playing obviously through the middle, he's played decent. He's played pretty decent. In that kind of Firmino-esque position. So I guess that's probably one of the reasons why we're not seeing Darwin Núñez, appear down that middle because, I've said this before and it's been stated before, and Klopp has stated this again. Start listening to the manager because he's telling you exactly what the situation is, but we keep acting oblivious to it for whatever reason. But what Klopp requires from a forward is obviously Klopp wants to play a certain style of football. He can only seemingly at Liverpool play with a Firmino-esque type of striker. Cool. If that's the case and he can't seem to adapt to having a different type of striker, which is a Darwin Núñez, then you're going to see Cody Gakpo come in because Cody Gakpo can do that role obviously a lot better than a Darwin Núñez can. And Klopp wants that. He wants a player who is going to kind of contribute to more than just the attacking phase of play. He doesn't want a number. He doesn't want a Haaland, which is weird because who wouldn't want a Haaland? But he doesn't want that. He wants someone to be able to contribute. He wants someone to be able to just kind of drop in deep when he needs to drop in, make space for the wingers, all these kind of various different things. And for me, that's not Darwin Núñez's game. That's not really his kind of thing. He's a player who he's nowhere near as good, but he's in that Haaland mold in terms of put him up front. He can finish. At the end of the day, for Benfica, he was putting the ball in the back of the net on a frequent, consistent basis. So I do believe that he can put the ball in the back of the net if given a buckload of chances. But to ask him to do the other side of the game, the pressing, the this, the that, that's just not him. You can just see it. It's just not him. And I don't think we should be trying to force that upon him because then I feel like you're going to start taking away from his game. And if you start taking away from his game, then you're not actually getting the player that you signed. What you're trying to do, I get it. Every player who comes to any team, of course, especially if you're coming to a team that play a bit differently to the team that you were just at, of course, there's going to be some give and take. At the end of the day, there has to be some level of compromise from both the player and from the manager. At the moment, I'm not seeing a compromise from Jurgen Klopp. I'm seeing a lot of compromise from Darwin Núñez to be able to play in a certain way, but not much for Jurgen Klopp in terms of changing maybe the style of football that we do play if we're going to have a Darwin Núñez up top. Hence the reason why I feel like he gets shifted out to the left-hand side, because over there on the left, that's where we see his strengths, which is the physical attributes, the pace, the strength, being able to get in behind defenses and stuff like that. On the left-hand side, you've got the space to be able to kind of do that. Whereas through the middle, with the way that we play, through the on the wings, you don't really have that. So, it's a bit of a weird one. And I was looking here, at Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez, because for next season, as obviously it says here, next season, as Cody Gakpo claimed the number 9 spot, for next season. And at the moment, the way I'm looking at it is, I feel like, again, because of the way that Klopp wants the team to play, then I think like he probably would start off, or he would prefer to start off, with a Cody Gakpo as opposed to Darwin Núñez. This is Cody Gakpo's heat map for the season for Liverpool, obviously in the Premier League. You can see it here. 13 games started. He's got himself 6 goals. You can kind of see his heat map though. It's kind of all over the gaff because that's the kind of thing that Firmino, and I think I spoke about this before in regards to Firmino's role, and in regards to exactly what Cody Gakpo is trying to offer to the team, or what Klopp wants him to offer to the team. But you can see here, it's everywhere. It's on the left, it's on the right, it's through the middle. Not so much on the right. It's more middle to left. Sometimes in the box and stuff like that, but it's everywhere. You look at Darwin Núñez, again, it's mostly to the left, and then coming in, a bit in the middle, obviously from the games that he played through the middle, but it's mostly on that left-hand side. And I think, as I said, that's how we're going to potentially see it. Maybe, Liverpool have got Darwin Núñez, Diogo Jota, Cody Gakpo, Luis Diaz, and Mohamed Salah going into next season. Take out Salah because that on that side of the pitch, we don't really have anybody else to actually play there. But when you're looking at everybody else, it's either left or central. There's only going to be 2 slots, but it's good for rotation. As I said, rotation purposes. That's brilliant to be able to swap it around. Maybe this week you play Nunez, maybe next week you play Jota, maybe next week you play Cody Gakpo, depending on the opposition. What type of game are we trying to play? It's good for that. Whether it works out like that, I don't know. Historically, for Liverpool, I don't see it working out. I feel like one of them is going to become, unless there's crazy injuries, and that would be the only reason why. Unless there's a crazy injury, I feel like one of them might end up potentially being a little bit upset with the amount of game time he's getting, because we don't really rotate. Klopp is very, we've seen it in the last few games, to be honest with you. Klopp is very, once he has a team, he doesn't really want to deviate from that, which then doesn't really give enough time for anybody else to potentially get in, and we don't change it according to opposition. We just keep things the same, which has been our downfall, in certain matches, throughout his tenure here. It's worked by and large because he's been very, very lucky that he's been able to call upon the same set of 11 players every single week. But crunch time at certain times, I think back to all the finals that we've been in the Champions League, not being able to kind of rotate and have something different, you can see the drop off in the team. And I think that's always been a worry for me is in attack for going into next season. I think it's okay, because we've got those 5 players. But in a general sense, I always feel like the drop off in Liverpool's first team to second or to just bench players is so big, and it shouldn't be as big as that. It shouldn't be so noticeable. Yeah, you might notice a little bit, which is absolutely fine, just like any other team. But it shouldn't be it shouldn't be so noticeable where you're like, bloody hell, you're playing one week, you got, I don't know, Sadio Mane on the left-hand side, but then next week you've got Origi. The drop-off is too big. It just shouldn't be like that. But maybe if Origi was getting more game time and we were able to see him a lot more, or he was able to play a bit more, then you wouldn't really notice it so much because he'd be a lot more acclimatized. That might work for next season, potentially, if they are all, they're all going to have to fight for a place, but if they're all performing and Klopp is able to rotate and change it around, I think then you'll start to see a really, really good attack, and you'll see a good team. Come on, the best. I look at Manchester City with the rotation of the Bernardo Silvas, the Mahrezes, the Grealish, the Fodens, the Alvarezes. They're able to just rotate in, and you don't notice a drop off because they're all coming in to do their own specific roles, but at the same time, it's to the benefit of the team. And ultimately, they're all fighting for a spot anyway. 1 week or for 3 weeks, it might be Mahrez might start out on that side. But then maybe if he has a bit of a stinker for a couple of games, maybe Bernardo Silva might potentially slot in that role, potentially. Maybe on the left-hand side, Grealish will play for a little while, but then if he's not really playing well, guess what? Foden comes in. Do you know what I mean? And it keeps everybody hungry, it keeps everyone healthy, and it helps with the team. And I just think that that's something that Klopp really, really needs to take a look at heading into next season. But when we're comparing, obviously, Gakpo and Darwin Núñez, so I said let me just compare them, compare them for obviously this season. As you guys can obviously see here, these are obviously the stats. Ball recoveries, Gakpo's played far less games than Darwin Núñez, by the way, which is, look at it however you want to look at it, to be honest with you. Ball recoveries, 3.5 to 2.5. Goals per game, 0.6. That was more of a worry for me as well when I looked at that, because I was like, well, Gakpo only just came in January. You've been here since August. But okay, conversion rate, again, that was something that really did worry me, with Núñez only being 13% and Gakpo's being 30%. But again, Gakpo did only join in January, so games to goal ratio kind of thing. Shot accuracy, Darwin Núñez is ahead, not well ahead, but he's ahead of Gakpo in that regards. Shots on target, he's ahead as well. We move on to the next one. This one was quite, I don't know if I want to say alarming or not, but I felt like this was highlighting maybe more so as to why Klopp has preferred to go with a Cody Gakpo as opposed to, Darwin Núñez. If you look there, passes attempted, passes completed, unsuccessful passes, pass accuracy, 67% to 77 of Cody Gakpo's crosses, crossing accuracy. Moving on, aerial duel success, 42% to 53%. Ground duels contested, which I felt like that was kind of a key one, 9.4 to 6.9. Gakpo's 4.1 to Nunez's 2.7. Ground duel success being at 43% to 38%. Interceptions, blocks. And then we move on to the last one. Through balls attempted, Darwin Núñez is doing just a point more. Passes in opposition half, forward passes, which again, I felt like duels contested, take-ons, they're the same. But the take-on success is obviously Cody Gakpo is obviously a lot better. And, it's just, again, it's not to, at the end of the day, you want, you want this kind of situation, within the team in terms of you want to be able to have this kind of conundrum. And I'm not saying that Klopp doesn't want this conundrum. He might want this type of a situation whereby, who do I play? Do I play Darwin Núñez? Do I play Cody Gakpo? And again, that would be fantastic. And that's exactly what we want as a team. We want to be competitive in all areas. We're tired of looking at our bench and just seeing some of the dross that we've seen over the last couple of seasons, a few seasons actually, to be honest with you. I look at the year that we won the league, and when I look at the bench and stuff like that, I just think to myself, wow, we were so lucky that we didn't have to change it around so much, because if we did, would we have won the league? I don't even know. I really, really don't even, I'm not even too confident about that, and it's just that lack of quality in depth. I'm not saying that you have to always have a Salah on the bench. I mean, if you've got the money to have a Salah on the bench, then yeah, but we know what that would then mean is that both of them are going to want to play. That's absolutely fine. You don't necessarily need that, but you need someone who's competent enough to be able to come into the team. Maybe he's got that with Darwin Núñez and Cody Gakpo. Let me know in the comments, guys. Who would you, going obviously for the rest of the season, I think he's just going to stick with Cody Gakpo. I think he sees it as, we're just trying to get to the end of the season, pick up as many points as possible, see if we can try and potentially make that top 4 position. And then obviously we just go from there. So in regards to that, no problem. This season for me is kind of just finished, regardless of where we kind of end up at the end of the season. I've kind of just not, I've tuned out of this season. But heading into next season, who would you guys like to see start up front? What would be your forward line? Take out Salah, because Salah's going to play regardless of whether you want him to play or not. But yeah, who would be your forward line? Who starts on the left? Who starts through the middle? Does Diaz automatically come back in? As I said, if Diaz comes, automatically back in, who goes through the middle? I know a lot of people, as I said, they want Darwin Núñez to start, up front, and I get that. Again, I actually do understand that. But can he play the Liverpool way? I don't think he can. Cody Gakpo seems to have kind of, now he's acclimatized himself to that kind of way, of playing. Again, whether we see it long term, I don't really know. Will he get enough goals? Is he going to be able to contribute enough? Again, all questions that we don't have the answers to until obviously next season, and ultimately, when it actually happens. But yeah, it was just to kind of just see, like, what do people think in terms of that number 9 slot for next season? Who would you guys like to see there? What does the forward line look like? Do we need to potentially change it up if we do have a Darwin Núñez in there? Again, Diogo Jota's there as well. Luis Diaz is there as well. So that, there's a lot of questions, but let's wait and see. Obviously, next season hasn't come yet, and we still obviously have this season to finish off. But guys, there you have it. That is obviously today's video. Done and dusted. As I said, let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Let me know how you would like to see the team look like for next season. Moving forward, especially when we get, I hope we get in some midfielders and stuff like that. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of things to answer next season. There's going to be a lot of conversation in regards to certain players and stuff like that. So it's going to be very intriguing to see exactly what Jurgen Klopp can actually do. But guys, make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you obviously also head over to the Jerry James Show as well. I'm G. That's today's video, done and dusted, and I am out.